Most entrepreneurs and salespeople don't think about this. They think just more and more and more, grind this, that. A lot of your success is attributed to your mindset. Whether you believe it or not, it's not the sexiest thing to talk about. Some people go, oh, it's woo-woo. And I was like, no, like mindset is literally 80% of the battle. Because if you got bad mindset, limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, doubt, discouragement, distraction, any of that kind of stuff, like you're never going to crush it. Because you'll get on a sales call, and if you don't think it works, if you think your fulfillment sucks, if you think your offer's not that great, if you have just even 5% mindset or belief not in the right direction, it will dictate all the wrong actions. I looked at today where I was like, okay, what would be a super powerful topic to cover in the blessed time that we have together? And I actually wanted to talk about one of the biggest traps of success, sales, basically the things that will put you into negative momentum, the things that will take you backwards, the things that will take you out of alignment, the path, the mission, and the purpose. Okay. Who here is excited to learn about like a simple framework that I promise you will catch it, how much it happens on a day-to-day. And I'd love to take credit for this, but I actually learned this directly from my mentor, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brendan Burchard. And it was so insightful and profound that I was like, oh, I started catching it, adopting it, and tweaking it because it gave such a big click. And I wanted to share it here because the whole idea is whenever we're working towards something big, right? Like you're like, man, I want the next goal, the next mark, the next achievement, the next whatever, right? You're like, I want to do big things. You know, the world, the God, the universe is going to test you. Like, you know, so many tests are coming. Yes, y'all know what I'm talking about. The test could be a shiny new opportunity, a different offer, a drama in a relationship, right? Doubt, discouragement, all this kind of stuff. And a huge part of it is learning how to protect yourself from the roadblocks of what's to come, okay? And the topic of today is around self-sabotage. Here's a key distinction. Success in the next path for all of us isn't per se about being a wildly different person. And it's a lot more about training yourself to react differently. So I'm going to repeat that. It's less about, yes, like you want to evolve and grow your identity and do that, but it's teaching yourself how to react differently because the current version of us right now is not sufficient to go to the next levels that we want to get to. And that's the truth. And a huge part of the big shift is to shift how we react to the different situations. A lot of times, you know, we'll get resistance. We'll get roadblocks, right? That could be cold calls, ads, DMs, setting, closing, any of that. Who here's done a bunch of shit and you're like, this shit's not working. Double hands up. That's you. Yes, been there, in there. Okay, let's go. All of us, let's go, baby. And I share that. So as we all look, guys, that's the human struggle. Like we all go through that shit, right? And the big thing is how should we be reacting towards that? And the key is obviously to resist that kind of urge to run away, to go somewhere else. Now it's about, okay, how do we turn in to have greater energy, to have greater progress? How do we build, right, that extra momentum to break through the negative spiral? And the framework we're going to talk about is, are you ready? You just write it. It's 3 letters. It's beautiful. It's sexy. It's simple. ZAP. Okay. And the whole idea is when we chase that big thing, we zap ourselves out of alignment. Okay. So the first thing that will always happen. So watch. Okay. Everyone here, just imagine outreach, whatever outreach looks like for you. DM, cold call, email, this, setting, closing, just the activity of getting the prospect or connecting with the prospect and speaking to them and it not working. Okay. I'll just use sales as an example, and this will translate into every other area of your life. Okay. The Z, I don't know. The Americans call it Z, the Z, I don't know. Okay. The Z, Canadians call it the Z, I don't know. Okay. The Z is the first thing we always do is we zoom in. Okay, so we zoom in on the situation. Okay, and this is where really the mental distortion happens. We zoom in, and then just imagine this: we blow it up, we catastrophize it, we exaggerate. I have been blessed to coach thousands and thousands of salespeople in my career, and I've seen this for so many years. And the most common way it's shown up is anyone who does cold calls. Okay, cold calls, door knocks, anything outbound with a lot of volume. It's so crazy. And I'll give an example, and it'll help you figure out what that looks like for you on your own. They'll be like, Anas, no one's picking up. Anas, no one's home. Anas, no one wants to buy. Anyone done that? Right? And then I'll always go, so my teams, anyone that's been with me or my clients always know, if you give me that bullshit, you have to hit me with logical. Okay. So if someone goes, no one's picking up, I'm like, okay, great. So how many contacts did you have and how many no one picked up? And usually what you find is it was like 6 people said no, right? And y'all know what I'm talking about? You're like, you did 42 attempts, 10 failed. And then you're like, nothing's working. This doesn't work. This thing is dead. So we zoom in, you zoom in on the situation, catastrophize. Right? And the catastrophe, how I've learned to pick it up, is it generally shows up in absolute language. No one is this. This doesn't work. This is taking forever. It's this like intense exaggeration of the thing. And that leads to so much negative thinking. And it leads to this like freeze. And what happens is we evaluate the situation as negative. And the problem with that is when you zoom and catastrophize is you've now fully missed the bigger picture. You forgot that this little situation that you are dealing with, which is way beneath your capabilities, is just one stepping stone up the bigger thing that you're going for. Y'all with me? So as a quick pause, as I share that, write down your thing of what you zoom in on catastrophize. Write down where that shows up for you. You also don't have to do it in your sales process. This could be in relationships, in your health. It could be, I tried this diet for 3 days and nothing works. This doesn't work. It's not for me. I'm a mesomorph, ectomorph, circle square, and this doesn't work for me, right? It could be, these leads suck. No one is buying. The market is changing. This niche is saturated. The offer sucks. My setter sucks. The closer sucks. Like, you know what it is for you. Because part of this whole conversation is awareness. Because if we don't have the awareness, you won't know when you're zapping yourself. Show of hands, did everyone here find some of the things where they zoom and catastrophize on? Okay. Who's brave enough to drop something in the chat? And James, you got a question. Hit me.
No, I was actually going to share a story. So from a conversation I was having with my brother the other day. So he's very new into the space. He was cold calling and he's like, dude, nobody's picking up. Like, it's the biggest issue. And I'm like, all right, how many dials did you make? He's like 60. And I'm like, how many picked up? 17. That's like a 30% pickup rate. I'm like, dude, when I was cold calling, I had like a 10% pickup rate. And at 60 dials, I would book like 4 people. Like, your pickup rate is like triple mine. And it was like, that was just, great example of that.
It just happens. It's everywhere. Guys, who here? Imagine your friend came up to you and they're like, yeah, man, I'm getting out of business. Like, oh, why? What's up? Well, I reached out to 17 prospects that didn't know me. They weren't interested. I don't think there's a business for me. I see you all laughing, but that's what we fucking say to ourselves. That's how ridiculous. Like, you're just like, oh, yeah, come here. What'd you say? Right? But like, that's what we do. We just don't realize it. We just zoom in and like you blow it up. I also can't tell you like just candidly, and if someone does this to me, I'll just laugh again. People like will DM me all the time, and they'll be like, "Oh man, like this thing's not working," and they've like done it for like 2 days, right? And you're just like, what data do you have? You just learned the thing, you implemented it for a quarter of a day, and you're on day 2, and you expect it to like, it's like you had 13 tries, you had 22 tries. Of course, it's not gonna work. So point is, catch where you zoom to zoom and catastrophize. The A in the ZAP framework, and this is huge. This is so huge. What we do is attach to self. And what happens is when we're in a bad place or you're in a negative or when you're in a slump, especially if you have like pressures, someone's counting on you, financial strain, or you're missing KPIs or the month is about to end or whatever it is, what happens is we take that problem and we attach it to ourselves. So we actually negatively impact our identity and our self-worth. So the mind starts to go, well, I'm just not good enough, or I suck, or I'm bad. I'm too old. I'm too young. I have an accent. I have this. Who here has gone through some variation of that? You attach actually think about it for you, right? Where you take that thing, that problem, that issue, and you make it about yourself. It's you somehow make it that you are not worthy, that you're not competent, that you're not successful, that you're a failed salesperson, a sales business person, that something about you that you're just less than. And it might not show up in that exact language pattern. That's why I'm pausing here a little bit. I just want you to process it for you. And this will be a different topic for another thing. Is your ceiling in your business and your finances and your career is tied to your self-worth. Your self-worth is your ceiling, and it always will be. So if you don't have the self-worth and the confidence and the trust and the faith in you, your cap where you go will always be your self-worth. So when you get capped, you're like, I just think I'm worthy of that. And if you ever try to exceed it, you won't exceed your self-worth. And part of this is when we zoom and catastrophize it, you start to attach that problem, which isn't that big, this tiny little problem, and then you attach it to yourself and you make it have a meaning about yourself. And the whole thing, when we're talking about mental distortion and going out of alignment and all that, is we have to learn to separate. Like you look at that, like, I don't know, my Captain America shield is like, you just got to separate from that. And you're like, oh, like this has nothing, like this is the problem. This thing right here, right? And you have to separate from that and just look at it and just remember, like, you are bigger than all these problems. Guys, who here has overcome some up shit in their life? A fight, a depression, a financial ruin, an argument, a fight, a physical constraint, a mindset, a dark chapter. Double hands up if you've overcome one of those. Double hands up if you've overcome multiple of those. Every hand stayed up, right? Like when you're in it, it feels so insane because we zoom and catastrophe. We're like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. And you're just like, okay. So what you should be asking yourself, well, and that's how you fix it. Just do the opposite. Like zoom out. Like, okay, cool. Oh, okay, the cold calls ain't working. Oh, my fulfillment is broken, right? Like you lose your first client. If you lose a client and you churn or you have a refund or a chargeback, you zoom in and the world is ending. And it's just like, okay, brother, sister, it's one deal. There's good learning here for you, okay? The last guy I let go on my team, he like really wanted the job back. And I was like, I wouldn't teach you a lesson if I gave you a second chance. And I know right now it's going to seem like the intense and the end of the world. And you missed this amazing, incredible opportunity because it's half decent to work with me, but also painful at the same time. But you know, it's like, you're like, ah, shit, you're going to zoom in, but it's like, no. Like you could just zoom out and there's a really big learning from that. It's like, well, why did I get let go? Why did this happen? Why did this client fall back? Why did this prospect stay on the call with me and then not buy, right? Like it's all these little things. And then you just got to not attach it to yourself, because the third thing is the killer. And this is the end outcome of all this. So you diminish your self-worth, you add all this stress, you add all this negativity, you add all this stuff. And then what happens? Okay, the P, it's one of three things that will happen. And you got to know your flavor because it's going to show up differently. You'll either procrastinate, you'll pause, or you'll punish. So I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. So we'll either procrastinate it, we'll pause, or we'll punish ourselves for it. Okay. So for example, you zoom in on a thing and it's insane and it's big and it's this and this and it's scary. So it feels so overwhelming. So next thing you know it, you find yourself working on other random shit that has nothing to do with addressing the problem. Anyone go through that? All of a sudden you're fixing this other thing, right? You're like studying this thing, fixing that, tweaking that, reviewing that. Me last week, there you go. You're like touching all this other stuff, you know, because you zoomed in, catastrophized, you blew it up, tunnel vision. It's huge. It's insane. You make it about yourself and it's overwhelming. So your mind tricks you into like, do this other stuff. Some of you guys heard me once talk about this, like just do the damn thing, right? It's when we do that, we procrastinate. So we put it off, but it's sneaky. Your mind tricks you because your mind is the greatest salesperson because it knows your weaknesses, your strengths, your aspirations, all of that, right? And what it does is it'll push you into these other narratives and it sells you that is the critical thing. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You're like, that is the critical thing. And a quick work around that, I'll just side note, is you have to get clarity up front. So if you haven't, you have to do it today, is be like, okay, what is, we would call them Friday finishers. So we're like, what has to, it could be Saturday finisher, Sunday finisher, week objectives, it doesn't matter. What are the 3 outcomes, max 5? Like what is the main initiative of this week? Okay. And you have to reverse engineer the actions to be like, does this support that? And then every time your mind deviates, how you keep yourself honest is you're like, does this support that? So let's say, for instance, the only goal this week is to onboard 2 new clients, to sell 2 new people. So then whenever you catch yourself doing something else, you're like, is this directly helping me get to that person, to get that client? If it isn't, then you are procrastinating, okay? Because the other version is pause. You like park it, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna pause this and come back to this later. But the problem with that is it still eats mental bandwidth. It still eats real estate. Like it's still lingering there. And then the more of those things that you stack on, are you ready? What happens is we build the feeling of overwhelm. And then when we build the overwhelm as it stacks, we fully get lost in the process because now there's so many things that you don't know where to start, what to do. And then your days end up going to randomness. And then we go from intention, being strong and being guided and having perseverance, to we're now just reacting. Take this random phone call, we'll jump on this random meeting, do a little bit of work here, do a little bit of work there, do this, and we just go into fully in a reaction cycle. And we're almost looking for the drama, the stresses, things to blow up and break, because we need that guidance from reaction, because we're way too overwhelmed to plan and set intention. And if you geek out on love training like this, then click the link down below to join our free Ascenders community, where we go live every single week, where you can ask your questions, role play, and so much more. Just click the link down below and we'll see you on the other side. Did that hit for anyone? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Because in the overwhelm, we go on a completely different path. We're no longer in intention. We're no longer guidance. We're no longer living to our best selves. And the last thing that happens is we punish ourselves. And everyone has a different flavor of stuff. Man, if someone heard what you say to yourself, whoo, that put you into jail. Okay. I'm just reading the chat. Bro's been describing me my past week, this whole call to a T. That's rough, but that's real, right? Like we laugh because that's part of the Ascender's journey. We're here to grow, to challenge each other, but also to hold the space. And thank you for the courage just to share that. And just so he doesn't feel alone from everyone here. Anyone else feel some of that? Go through that? Okay. I swear, and ask this in our minds. I see some of the chats. Okay. Because that's the real, right? And then when we punish ourselves, the worst thing is, this is the craziest thing. And I used to sit and analyze this so much because I couldn't understand why the human psyche was so dumb. And I'd be like, and ask, like, I'll do it for me. And then obviously with clients and team and people. And then I'd be like, oh, like I would beat myself up. But beating myself up never drove positive behavior. Just think about it. I never sat there and asked, you fucking suck, you're worthless, you're this. It's like, how could you not? And then all of a sudden, I'm motivated and inspired to go and do the thing. And the reframe here is, and it might be a foreign term to some of you, is like, you have to learn to be your own cheerleader. You have to learn to give yourself some grace. You have to learn to give yourself some of that, like, gratitude and honoring yourself on the journey, right? Like, you have to honor the struggles, the hardships, what is to come. And just understand, like, yeah, this is part of the process. That's why we're here. And the harder this is, the more complex it is, the more exciting I should be, because A, I'm going to smoke my competition. B, it's going to help me grow. And C, my favorite thing is you're going to have an amazing comeback story. Like, imagine how lame your life story would be if everything was just gravy and you had no hardships and everything blew up and it was good. Like, you don't have a story. Like, you have the underdog story. Like, to date, all my underdog chapters are the coolest and most exciting parts of my journey. It's not the wins that are exciting. It's like, I was here back against the wall, like, I'm burning money out the window. I'm freaking out about where my next meal is. You're like, this. And like, going through that, that's what brings the excitement. That's what brings the momentum. So it's like, rather than beating yourself up, it's like looking at the inverse of that, of remembering that negativity to self does not drive positive behavior. It does not. It's very rare. And it's hardly a thing I teach with the dark energy, as I call it. It is very tiny places in time where you could tap into dark energy. Let's say you're at the gym, you're doing a sprint, you're at the final set, and like, whatever, you might go like, you know, and you just tap into a little bit of that darkness. Great. Okay. I don't generally recommend it because it takes like a very certain type of mindset to know how to tap into that dark energy and it not corrode you. Because when you do, imagine you beat yourself up and you feel worthless in this, and then you just jump on a sales call. Are you going to serve at the highest level? Just think about that. You don't come from a place of love. You don't come from a place of service. They feel a bit of your anger and resentment. Like, that shows up. You get me? And then even when you look at the Ascender's manifesto and you look at some of the values, you'll be fully out of alignment. You will not have the role model mindset. You will not show up to serve with greatness. You won't have the right mindset. Most importantly, you won't have that heart of service, right? You won't be in this like aliveness, this hope and this optimism and this grace and this beauty, because we're beating ourselves up. And so to full circle it is what my hope is as we go through here. And I saw the chat blow up and everyone having their own clicks and connections. And I'll tell you what the workaround looks like is the next time the thing happens, and that's why you have to journal. You're like, oh shit, I'm zapping myself, right? Like, whoa. And like, you have to be like facetious with it and playful, like, whoa, I'm zapping myself. Let's chill. And just divorce yourself, right? In psychology, in positive psychology, like if you go to like therapy and that kind of things, what they'll do is they'll help you dissociate and like you'll give the thing a label. Like if I had an angry personality, I would call him grumpus, so then I could dissociate and detach from self, that type of thing, right? So it's almost kind of a similar concept, okay? And I'm butchering the explanation, but hopefully it'll make sense. But it's kind of like, well, let's zoom out here. Okay, what's the big picture? What's the weekly? What are we trying to do here? This is part of the journey. This is the game. Okay, it's all good. We made some mistakes. How do we fix that? This has nothing to do with me. This is part of my journey. This is part of my growth. I honor me. I cheer me on. I love myself. Let's freaking do this. Okay, and that's like we turn to the cheerleader of like, you have to learn to be your own champion. You have to learn to be like, I have to summon. And that's why I always say you have to fight to summon the best of who you are so you can ascend into who you're meant to be. That's part of the journey, right? And the whole game is the more we learn this emotional regulation, the more we can turn that dial, the more we can tap into that grace, the more we can tap in from high and above and remember that we are bigger than this. We are better than this. And this is part of our journey. And this is exactly what we signed up for. That's what we want. That's how we want it. Because the struggle, the suffering, the hardship is what gives the fulfillment, is what triggers the dopamine, is what gives that feeling of aliveness that you're overcoming this. And most importantly, as we go through it, you should be happy, because every time it's harder, it's tougher, it's weirder. That means you're going to smoke your competition because they ain't got this tribe, they ain't got this community, they ain't got this vibe, they ain't got this guidance, that they're not going to make it through. So I'm like, you just filter yourself out just by default of doing the harder work. But most importantly, the biggest thing for me in all of this is each of us get the opportunity to be a role model, right? A lot of times you guys will see in our session, you're like, oh, Anas knows this. Like, it's as if he's in my, it's like, because I've been there, right? And I had the guidance to work through it. And it's like, you will get the opportunity to serve, whether it's your client, your family member, a friend, a peer, whatever. Every time you go through one of these hardships, you now have that boom, that checklist of like, I paid my dues, I earned that, but I can also expertly guide someone else because you are most qualified to help the previous version of yourself. And the more hardships and the more hurdles and the more things that you overcome, the more qualified and more equipped and better empowered you are to serve you and all the people that show up into your world. And with that, I want to remind you every single day, it is on each of us. We have to fight. And I say fight because sometimes it's not sexy. It's just a little battle. Man, I got to turn the dial. I'm not really feeling it. I got to re-gear myself. I got to cheer myself on. I got to shout some commands to myself. You got this. Keep going. I know it's tough. I believe in you. And you got to be your own greatest cheerleader. And rather than zooming in and zapping yourself out, right? Zoom out. Give yourself grace. Remind yourself of who you're ascending to be, who you're meant to be, who you're called to be, why you're doing this. In spite all that negativity, to turn that dial and bring that best version of you. And remember that in doing this, you don't just serve you, your clients, your business, your mission, all of that. You get the opportunity to be an incredible role model and serve everyone else.